What's up, everyone? Tyler Brown with FutureDDS.
Terrell Friday here with FutureDDS.
And today we are kicking off our application series with our stories on applying and how everything went. Let's go.
Let's go. Alright y'all, so if this is your first time joining us on the channel, essentially Tyler and myself, we put out these videos to help pre-dents get into school as well as to show our experience through dental school. So make sure you hit that subscribe button, also hit that notification bell so you know whenever we put up new videos.
So, this is the moment that you've been waiting for. You've made the grades, you've done the community service, you've done the shadowing hours, you've taken the DAT or not, depending on your situation, but we'll talk about that a little bit later. But anyway, now it's time for you to apply to school. Before we start, what is this application series? Well, we decided to make a bunch of different videos, basically providing you all with tips and, kind of just advice on how to navigate the whole application system so that we can make sure that you all have the smoothest application cycle possible.
Today we want to kind of give you a brief overview of how our application series went, or how our application cycle went, as well as what was going on in our mind and really how everything played out. Give you guys a general overview of the application cycle itself. I guess my experience through the application series or the application cycle is a little different because, well, I guess it's not different. It's pretty much like everyone else's. I applied for the first time. The first time I applied, I actually didn't get in. And what I can say from the difference of when I applied the first time to the application process the second time is that I was way more prepared and getting stuff done sooner and being at point with everything I wanted to do, on point with everything I wanted to do, from shadowing hours to getting my letters of recommendation in to make sure my GPA and my classes are in and everything, and not feeling clustered or overwhelmed by having to do so much stuff of the actual application online, and then on top of that having to make sure I send out these emails on time, make sure they submit their letters of recommendation on time, and on top of all this, still having to get all the money together to apply, because application is pretty expensive, the general application itself, and then the supplemental apps coming after that. So, so much stuff on my mind at the time, I kind of, the second time around, refocused my train of thought. I was a lot more prepared as an applicant, so I felt more confident in my application, and I wasn't necessarily reaching for extracurricular activities. I wasn't necessarily reaching to, maybe scope my poor grades or anything that was a hindrance from my undergrad, especially after having to do the master's program, stuff along that lines, that, it ended up being a lot smoother process, and I took home a lot of things that, I feel like will be beneficial to tell you guys. So I guess I can speak a little bit more on the first application cycle, just because I learned the most from that application cycle, and definitely not getting in, I felt like I stretched myself too thin with getting in touch with schools or thinking of the schools I wanted to apply to. It was a wide array of schools, and I didn't really necessarily have a definitive reason on why I wanted to go to all of the schools outside the name, or maybe it was one thing that I liked from a long time before. So I definitely narrowed my scope down in that aspect of like where I wanted to go and targeting the exact schools I wanted to, make sure I got in touch with them. Stuff along those lines where, I was making connections with these schools, and I was making a lot of headway, learning a lot the first time, but I wasn't necessarily doing effective, making a lot of effective moves. I was making a lot of moves, but they weren't really effective. So, just definitely make sure you sit down, going with the game plan, and be effective with everything that you do. There are going to be times where you feel overwhelmed with things, or you look at something when you first open up the application, and it seems like a big daunting task, but just literally make a checklist and chop down every little thing that you have to do. And at the end of the day, it doesn't seem like as big of a deal, or it doesn't seem as big of a burden on you. So I would definitely say that, and that was one thing I learned from the first time to the second time that definitely, helped my process of applying holistically, but also I felt like it made me feel like I was more confident and a better applicant, coming across as a more confident and a better applicant to the schools I was applying to. So, I felt more confident. I felt like they were taking me a little bit more seriously about how I was going about things, and that's really in the grand scheme. That's the ultimate goal, in making that connection to a school that you want to be involved with, the school that you want to go to, and eventually making the overall decision to choose a school once you decide what schools, or once you find out what schools you got into.
So for me, I was very, very fortunate to get in my first time. But going through the whole application process, I learned a lot, as well as Terrell did. Even just being organized with everything. But it was funny because I feel like the application was very prepared, and I feel like all the information was out there. I think it was just another thing for me to actually just go out and really read and get structured with everything. Be prepared. So if I can give one piece of advice to anybody, just be prepared for the application process, because believe me, it is a process. So one thing that did surprise me when I was going through the application process was my GPA. Now, that is one thing that I did beforehand. I definitely calculated my GPA before, so I could kind of get a list of schools that I felt like, I would get into. So I did that, got my GPA, cool, decided to apply to the schools, but then when I actually put in my grades into the application portal, the GPA bounced back a lot different. So one of my main suggestions to you all is to go to the DO website and look at the subject course fact sheet or whatever it may be. They update it every year. But you might think that one of your science classes will count, one of your science classes might count towards your science GPA, but according to AdStats, it doesn't. And that might throw your situation off a little bit. Another thing that really shocked me, I think Terrell kind of spoke on this quickly, was the fact that I want to apply to all these different schools, but then it's one thing to say you want to do this, but then it's a whole nother thing figuring out how you're going to pay for all of this. Because when that grand total came up, I was in shock. I didn't know how I was going to do it.
How, Sway? Take a few steps back to go.
You ain't got the answers, man. You ain't got the answers.
That'll do it for this video.
Wrap it up.
But if you all have any other questions about the application process or whatever it may be, the application itself, do not worry, because we have a bunch of more videos coming out very soon, and we're sure that they'll help you out a lot.
So if you want to get a head start looking into the application, if you head down to the description, we're actually going to put a link to the actual application instruction page. It's going to be on every video of our DAT series. But definitely go check it out. Look into things that preface things that we're going to be talking about throughout the series, so you can get a better gauge of what we're talking about. Hit the subscribe button and the notification bell so that whenever we post up new videos. And if you have any more personal questions that you want to answer right now, you can head over to Instagram, follow us at _FutureDDS, send us a DM there, and we can start a conversation there. We can help you out with whatever questions you have. That's gonna wrap it up though. Stay tuned for the series. Thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, y'all.
We out.